Morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining again.
Morning, everybody.
Oh, we've got an echo. Hang on, I'll get rid of that. Gone. So how did everybody go with their skin? I know that a couple of people had to do it a couple of times, but I guess that's how we learn, by repeating the process. And most of the ones I've seen, or all of the ones I've seen, I should say, look really good. And I'm really happy that you guys have been able to follow along so far. So, first of all, if you didn't come to the first one, thank you for coming to this one. We will need to do another one. I don't think we'll finish this today. I've only allocated an hour of time because I think any more than that, and it gets a little frustrating and a little long. I'm just wiping off my pencil there. So yeah, so I'll continue on, but only for this hour, and then we'll do the rest. Possibly finish it next week, hopefully. So paper I'm using. These are the two papers I use. Canson Mountains paper. I use the smooth side, not the rough side. But today I've actually printed it on the quill board. So using that one today. Pop that out of the way. Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, it's really hard for me to color and look at the comments, so please excuse me if it takes me a minute to reply and respond. Also, it takes 30 seconds or so for the camera to catch up to where I'm actually at too. So sometimes it takes that long for me to answer because I've answered it straight away, but the video is lagging. So just to let you know that as well. So guys, for those that are having trouble with getting this skin smooth, it's really hard to show in the light, but it is actually smooth and shiny. So my suggestion is you may need different paper, or you may be pushing down on the tooth too quickly, so not doing light enough. You may need to do ultra light layers to get the smooth effect, but do more of them. Prismacolors are hard too because they're kind of waxy. The wax does build up quite quickly on paper, so sometimes it can be hard to get a smooth look because of the pigment. So some colors are harder to blend as well. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so we have got Heather Valentin here. Say hi, everybody. It's really great for you to see you and for you to be here. Now I'm nervous. No, not really. I'm fine. Anyway, I had posted a message last night in the event saying that, was everybody ready for today? And Claire kindly asked me what colors we were using, and I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about it. So yeah, I did have a play with the colors after that, and I've picked a few colors here. I have put the list in the start of the chat here. Also, it's in the description below as well, so that's what I'm using. And I just did my little tester thing here to see. So I've decided that I want to do the hair black, which I already said last week. So we'll be using black, cool grey, 90%, 70%, 50%, and also 10%. And I've got my black. And also we will use a white. And I'm also going to use a colourless or blender, or the full blender from Caran, which has actually stayed long for a change. Usually they break. And then I've decided to do blue for the main part of the outfit there. And then I'll do red for the trims and the fan and things like that. And the flowers I haven't decided yet. So it will happen. Sometimes I change my mind too. So don't yell at me if I change my mind and decide not to use any of those colors. Anyway, we are definitely using the black and grey for the hair though. Oh, bumped my camera a bit there. The camera is attached to a board, and when I move the board, it shakes. So hubby's in the process of making me a wall mount for the camera. So when I move, the camera doesn't move. So that will make it a little bit better. All right, so are we ready to get started? I'm thinking yes. Now, first of all, if you're worried or you're having a little bit of smudging, mine's actually quite good. It's not, I think because I covered it with the Colourless Blender, it's got a nice coating on it now. But if it's smudging, make sure that you grab a blank piece of paper and hold it over the top of the part that you're actually leaning on like that, so that you don't smudge that around underneath and push that all around the outside. Once you've done the black hair, you might find that you have to cover up the hair because the black will smudge more than pretty much any other color. So just be careful of that too. All right, so let's get started. I got my little sharpener here. I'm just going to sharpen my black so it's got a bit more of a point on it. So let's have a talk about the hair. I do talk about this in a few videos, but I'll just quickly go through what we're actually going to be doing. So if you have a look here at her hair, there's actually flowers sitting on top of her hair here and on this side. There's also down here her fan sitting in front of her hair, her face, her neck is all sitting in front of her hair there. And these sort of sections of hair here and here are on top of the hair behind. So also here is on top of this hair coming in behind here. So this part here is above this part. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to make sure that we put a shadow underneath those sections of hair. So this piece of hair is on top, so we're going to leave that light, but underneath here where it's leaning over is going to be a little bit darker. So we would put a shadow in there. Same here on the top. Just putting a line. I'm only using light to medium pressure. And I'm just going to flick some little lines up towards the top. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same underneath. So on these sections here where the hair is actually being almost all covered, I would probably actually do these sections here just black. So you could use firmer pressure here, or you can do it the second layer. I'm going to do it a second layer, so I'll make it a bit darker later. But the flowers are covering most of that area, so I've coloured that in. Now this piece of hair here, I'm just going to come in a little bit for you too. Just moving it slightly forward there. Okay. So this piece of hair here's behind that little section there. So I've left a little gap there if you can see that. So I'm just going to flick some lines out there. And just here will be black. And I'm just going to flick out from here. And underneath this bit here will be black. I'll probably do the blossoms pink and white maybe. I think that would look good. Just doing some lines. So Heather's already filled in a lot of the texture for the hair, so we can just sort of use our pencils to go over those lines. Hi Heather again, you're here, it's all good. So just doing shadows from the flowers and flicking out from there. Now it doesn't look like there's hair there, but there is actually a piece of hair there, so I'm just going to colour there. Just using light to medium pressure, and I'm just going to flick out from there. So that hair there is in front, so I'm just going to line down just beside that there, just to bring that forward a little bit. And underneath that bit of hair, I'm just going to draw a line there as well, and flick from there. Now from the I'll keep going around the shadows first. We'll finish those off before I get ahead of myself. So just behind that piece of hair that's coming over a shoulder, the piece behind that would be darker. So I've just coloured that all in black. Now her shoulder's sitting here. So I'm going to do a dark line there. Also down here. Looks like the hair sort of stops there, so I'll just do it from there. Just flicking up now towards the other side. Following those lines again. We're directionally flicking. We're flicking towards the top in the same direction that the top's coming down. I've just made that a bit of hair now. Oh, can you see that? All right. All right, so I'm going to move across to behind her head here now. So this piece here would be behind the front piece because the rest is going over her shoulder there. And all around here is going to be darker because her face is there. So it's already darker in there, so we're just filling in a little bit more. Welcome everybody. Okay, coming back here. Most of this will be black in here, so I'm just going to mark in, flick a few lines out. Once we go over with the 90% cool grey, it's going to cover up most of that white anyway in there. Okay, I'm moving across to the other side of the face now. Trying to stay away from the skin. Just flicking out from there. So the sharper your pencil is, the finer these bits will be. I tend to use polychromos for hair more than I do Prismacolor because Prismacolor blunts off so easily. I'm already starting to get furry lines, so I'm just going to sharpen that a little bit more. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do today. I kind of lost my voice a little bit at the start of the week, but it's not too bad today. So that piece there is coming around, just move it down a little bit, coming around the face. I'm just going to go up and then back down into that little crevice there. And then from the fan, we're going to do it darker there. So we've got the flower now. All of the links for the book are in the description below. Also, if you go to the Lacy Sunshine website, you'll be able to download the digital version. If you're in my Facebook group, there is an event going there at the moment, so you can get a copy of the image if you're in the event. All right, so we've got flowers on this side. So I'm just going to go around and do dark edging all around those. And I'm just going to make sure that I flick out, do those little lines directionally, so we're going towards where the hair is going. Just going to turn it on a different angle so I can get a better angle on the lines. Sometimes having things on the hair helps with the light and depth of it as well. Sometimes I like it to have things sitting on the hair because it breaks it up and it makes it a little bit easier to show the highlights and things. Now it looks like here there's some lines in there. I'm just going to go, actually I'll go back from this side first, doing the rest of these flowers. I think that's just a strand of hair coming at the back here, so I don't want to put any shadows, but I'm just going to line that so it's there. Just pop a couple more in there, so okay. I've just filled in dark there and made that part of that hair there. There's also some little gaps underneath the hair, underneath the flower, sorry. I'm just going to mark those out between the fan. Okay, pretty happy with that. I'm going to move on from these flowers, just coming up. So I'm flicking in the direction that the hair is actually going. So where Heather's drawn in the lines that way, I'm going to flick that way. Okay. Now we've done those parts on the other side here. I'm going to change my picture again. All right. So from this side, I'm going to do the same thing from the flower out. So that looks like it's all going to be dark in there. So if you guys wanted to see the flip through of this book, it is in the first installment of this video. So we did one last week where we started and did the skin. Before we started the skin, I actually did a bit of a flip through of the book as well, so you can have a look at it there. Oh, I'm just throwing it away. Just down here again, dark. And just flicking towards the middle. Okay, so it looks like we've got a little bit of like a lift on the hair around here, so around this section here. So I'm actually going to go with that. So where it's darker up here, I'm just going to do little lines from there towards the center, just like that. And then I'm going to go back the other way in the direction of the hair. So just back that way. So now we've got a small gap between this dark area here and this dark area here, which will be a little bit more of a highlight area now. So where this part here is the dark part coming from the center, the middle, coming back towards those sections in the same direction. The pencil's lost its sharpness again. Just coming back that way. Up towards those sections there. So we've got now these parts here will be meeting in with those parts. And then we're going to go from that side out towards the other side. Just following the direction that's already there. I'm going to turn it around to do this side. I'm just going to go from there first. And then we're going to go backwards towards the other side from there. So that's our dark space now, or dark shadow. Making sure I stick with the same direction that it's already going. So that's actually a shadow part there. So I'm just going to deepen that up and go back from there. Now down here a little bit further, that hair there is sitting in front, so I'm just going to darken up behind it, just down to the bottom there, and then flick from this side up towards the center. So now you can go and just darken up some of those lines. So if you've made them really light, you might want to go back in now and just deepen them up. Do firmer pressure so you get nice fine dark lines. I think the only section that I might do darker now is from the top and the back of the hair. I might just come back there towards the middle, so that this little section here will be like a highlight and it looks like her hair is actually bouncing off from her head. And then bringing those ones on the angle back. I'm going to repeat these steps down here now on these sections of hair. So here I've already done up, but I just want to make sure that I've done back down from that darker section there. So I've got a little bit of a highlight there. All these sections would already be done. Now here, just deepening up these ones. I'm using lines to do that deep color too, just sort of lining it in, just keeping the texture. There's still a tiny bit of a gap there. Just putting a little bit firmer pressure on these ones now I've marked them out. Just going to line that one. Just going to flick a couple more out there. Now from this section here, I'm going to come up from the bottom to create a bit of a highlight in there. Going to sharpen my pencil again. I use a sharpener. It's a manual one, so you put it's hard really close up here, sorry, but you put the pencil in there and it's got one of those things and you manually wind it. I've seen them for like hundreds of dollars, but this was really cheap. It was from a cheap shop, so same thing. Just sharpen that up to get those lines a bit pointier. I just wanted to say too, don't worry if you go over the lines that were already drawn there. It doesn't matter. It'll just put more texture in. So just keep flicking. Try not to go too many because we want to put in another color as well. So we're going to be putting in the gray next. So that's quite dark as well. So we're just going to go over where we've already done. We also may create new lines. So we don't want to follow the exact same lines as we have because we want to create texture. The only section I haven't done now is just here. I'll just deepen this up. And I'm going to come from the bottom and just deepen up that there. It's kind of twisted a little bit down there, and I think that's actually just like straggly hair, so I've just back up. I'll just pull it out so you can have a look what that looks like. So now I've pulled it back a little bit. I can see where I may need to just go a tiny bit darker. So I want to make sure here, I'm just going to put a few more lines in, and I'm going to put a little bit more pressure just to deepen that section up there. Sometimes I'll even take a photo of it and have a look at it then and see what's missing as well, because with a photo you can see those shadow areas and the highlight areas really well. So you'll know if you need to sort of go a bit darker in some areas. So also now I've done that, I think that this area here needs to be a little bit darker. So I'm just going to deepen up that line there. And then just down, I think I needed a little bit more there. Okay, I think that will be enough for the hair. For the black, sorry. I'm going to use some cool grey. Now, I'm not going to use a lot of this through there because I've still got a few colours to put through, but I'm going to put a few lines of this through the sections I've just done. So I'll just bring it closer again, so you can see it. Whoever just said I love coffee, I don't like coffee. I drink tea. So I've got cool grey 90%. And I'm just going to do some more lines. So starting from this side and move across to the other. So I'm just going to flick a few more lines through here. And as I said, I'm not going to do too much because I don't want to fill it in too much. I want to leave the texture of the hair. So just a few strokes through there. I'm also making some of these ones a little bit longer as well. So I'm going to bring them a little bit further down and a little bit further up. So I'm building in this area here that's a highlight now. But just with a few strokes. As I said, I don't want to do too much because we're going to cover up all of it and you won't be able to see the texture of the hair. Back that way. Lines through there. Back down and then back up. Moving across. Not too many because we want to keep those individual lines. Back towards the middle. The back section there. Just going to line around her face there as well with that one. I'm just turning my page again so I can get better angle. I'm going to start from this side. Curving them round and then curving them back down. Excuse me, sniffing there. These pieces of hair that go over the fan, I'm going to wait and do them later because we're going to be doing the fan probably red, so I'll put it in over the top of it. So I think I'm quite happy with that. I just sort of did a little bit of that through the whole lot. Still got plenty of texture and lines through there. If I pull that back a little bit, you'll be able to see. As a whole, how that looks. We're going to continue now and we're going to do the cool grey 70%, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I just used the 90%. I'm now using the 70%. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll start from this side and work my way over, but just a few lines. And this time, just move over a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit further out towards that middle section here, so making them a little bit longer. But I'm only going to do maybe 3 or 4 lines through there on either side because we're starting to really build up on that color now, and we're just wanting to add a little bit more texture through using this one. So we don't want to cover over the individual lines that we've already done. We just want to add a few more in. Coming in right towards the middle now, but not covering it over. A couple in the back there. Okay. Someone just asked if pencil were my favorite. No, I'm going to go with markers. I have to admit though, pencils are really good because you can get really bright colors and lots of details with them, but I find that I'm all right with markers too, so it's not too bad. Just a couple of flicks through and back that way. Going back that way towards the middle. I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of blue through it. That's why I picked cool greys, because they're more of a blue tone. Warm greys have got more of a pink tone or earth tone. Okay, moving along to 50%. If you don't have all of the middle ones, just do a black, a grey, and a white or a silver or something in there. So 50% now. And I'm coming closer to the middle and just doing a few flicks over. I'm not even going to go from side to side. I'm just going to go through the middle now. just going to zoom out so you can see. So all I've got left now is cool grey and white. Yeah, sorry, the camera angle wasn't that great. I just did a line through. I'm going to do the same with the next one. So 10% cool grey. I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the 50%. So I'm just going to go and just put a few lines just through the middle sections now. Now this is going to start to smudge out some of the black, but we don't want to cover over those lines too much. We'll come back in with the white in a moment, and we'll just sort of go into those white areas and put a line through those to keep them white. Okay, so I've got my white pencil. I am going to come in a little bit, and this time I'll watch what I'm doing. So I've got my white pencil. I'm actually going to make that sharper because it's already blunt. Got a chip in it already. Okay. Stick with this part here first. So where there's little white sections, I'm going to try and put my white pencil in those areas. I really want the highlight to pop out. So by doing this, we're going to be accentuating those highlights. They're in between the lines. I'm just going over it with the white pencil. I'm using fairly firm pressure. Just don't want to blunt it too much. So what we're trying to do is just brighten up those highlights now. And then when we use the Caran d'Ache full blender, we're going to flatten off the rest of the black tooth, or the tooth that's left on the page, on the black areas. So if you get black on the tip of your pencil, make sure you wipe it off so that you're putting clean white through those areas. Otherwise, you're just going to smudge it in and it won't look like it's got texture. Just like that. Okay, I'll just do this section now with the colorless blender or the full blender. So I actually sharpen it with the sharpener so it stays nice and pointy. That's why I hate it when I break them, because it's easy to sharpen them when they're this size. And I'm just going to go over all of it, just being careful not to smudge the black into the white now, because I want to try and keep it separate. And what I will do is I will come back in with the black over the top of this just to make sure I've got those shadow areas marked out enough. I'm just going to wipe off my thing as I go. I'm just flattening out the tooth with it so that there's no like white gaps in there, apart from the white lines that we just put in. So I'm smudging over the black to make it look like it's just an individual line rather than being fuzzy. Okay, so mine's all nice and soft now and there's no sort of bits through there. Okay, I'm going to use the black now and I'm just going to reline out that shadow area there. So just making that a little bit deeper because we softened it off a bit with the greys. And I'm just going to do a few of those darker strokes through just to make sure that we've got that depth in there. And that will be that section done. Deepening up those shadows. I'm really putting pressure in those dark areas now. Okay. So if you've got any more lines, just make sure that you do soften them up. Any more lines, I should say any more fuzzies. So that section compared to the rest is really quite nice and looks kind of shiny now. So I've got a couple more minutes. So I'll try and get the rest of this done so you can see that finished. So I've just got my white first. Change the angle that way a bit. Just going over those white lines and just making them nice and sharp. Trying not to smudge in the rest of the lines. The blender again. Just notice there's a few bits down here. Just cleaning off those parts. We're just going over those lines and softening off any fuzzy parts. my black again. Just deepen up some of those deeper shadow lines. So the video will be available once we finished here. So if you haven't caught up or you didn't get to watch it live, you can still catch up. So I might just pull that camera back a little bit again and just show you what it looks like on the difference between the two sides. So you can see this side's still looking quite ratty. It doesn't look quite as shiny and smooth and silky as the other side does. So that's what we're trying to create by going back in with the colorless blender and also just livening up those white lines a bit as well. Which is our highlight. So just fixed a couple of bits up that I think needed it to be a little bit darker there. Make sure you do move back and look at your image. So I'm just going to finish the other side now. Go back in. My white needs to be sharpened again. The good thing about the manual ones is that you can just open it a little bit just to do the tip of the pencil rather than going all the way down. Of course, I just broke it. I know this white was really dodgy. Just going over those white areas just to brighten them up. I do find that hair and skin does take me the longest, so hopefully now we've got these long parts out the way, we'll have the clothing hopefully finished next week. So next week we'll do the same time. I've already done a link for the next one in the event, so you can go and get a notification for that straight away. We'll get them to send you an alarm. Going over now with that colorless blender. This side's a little bit grayer, so I might have to put a little bit more black into it to get it. And this part of the hair is fairly high though, so it would have the most highlight on it. Okay. I think we're almost done. Just going to come back in and deepen up that with the black. I'm using firm pressure again to do the black. Just to deepen that up and just flatten out the tooth of the paper. Just make sure all of your shadows are nice and dark now, and that you've got rid of all of that fuzzy sort of paper or the tooth underneath. I think I'm happy with that now. I'll pull out the image a little bit more again and you can have a look at the finished product. If you haven't finished, don't stress, because I think I'm rushing it a bit more than normal because obviously we want to get it done in the hour. Let me just zoom back out. Thanks so much, Tammy. I understand. All right, so my little scribble there. That is her hair. So if you feel that you want to go and deepen up shadows, make sure you do that before we come back to the next time. I might just play a little bit more and pop some more shadows in here now. Just filling out those shadow areas really that I'm wanting to really deepen up. Just do that there, a bit darker. I think I'm happy with that one now. I may go back in with that colorless blender and just make sure the rest of that's definitely flat. I know I can see a couple of areas where it's a little bit fuzzy, so I'll just go over those. But that's pretty much it. So we'll make a start on the clothes next week, so the same time. They hopefully won't take us as long because, I mean, obviously look at the detail in that compared to the hair. You've got to put a lot of pencil strokes through that to get that look, whereas with this we want it to look nice and smooth, so it's going to take us a little bit not as long to do those sections. So if you have any questions, you can come over to the Facebook group and there's an event set up there, so you're welcome to join that and ask any questions that you want. I'd love to see all your work in progresses as well, so as you get things done, I'd love to see them. And I don't think I have anything else that I really needed to say, just that if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you click on the little bell, you'll get notifications when I do upload new videos and when I go live. We will be back in a week's time, so a week the same time. It's 9:30 a.m. I think next week's is the 1st of June, so for us it is anyway in Australia. So that's Australian Eastern Standard Time, by the way. And I think that's everything. So if you want a copy and you want to catch up before we do the next one, please join the group and join the event so that we can get that organized for you. So guys, if you haven't been following me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Vero, all of those, you're welcome to come along and do those. And I will see you all next time. Thank you again for coming along to this one. And also thanks, Heather, for joining. And I know that you're having trouble, and that's no problems at all. But thank you for dropping in for us as well. And thank you to all of you lovely people who are here today. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.